posted properly. We have a quorum of commissioners here tonight, so we do have an official meeting. As always, our protocol is to open our meeting with an invocation, and I'd ask everyone to stand and remain standing for the pledge and prayer.
Heavenly Father, as we begin this new year, we thank you for the many blessings you have given us. We are grateful to be living in America and appreciate the police and fire members in our community who give us themselves to protect us. Be with us tonight and give us wisdom to make decisions that are pleasing to you. We ask for your guidance in making decisions that are fair, just, and in the best interest of our city. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business, as always, is consider approval of our minutes of our previous meeting that was held on December 16th, 2014. You've all had a chance to review those. Now is the time, proper time for amendments, corrections, or a motion. What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the minutes from the meeting of December 16th.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Motion carried unanimously. Item number 2 does require the commission to conduct a public hearing, and just briefly for the record and to the audience. Our protocol will be that we'll open the public hearing. We'll go to Mr. Cook for an overview of the case, and once we've heard from Mr. Cook, we'll be the opportunity to hear from the applicant to address the commission. We'll ask them to come forward to the podium and give us your name and address, make whatever comments they would like. Once we've heard from the applicant, we'll ask them to step down, then we'll ask for proponents and opponents from the audience. If once we've heard from any of those folks, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll take action on the case. With that, I open the public hearing on case number 14-04-PD. Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commission, Stephen Cook, Senior Planner with the City. As we discussed in the pre-session, the item before you is a zoning consideration. It is with 37 acres. And again, wanted to highlight some of the aspects of the development. It is at the intersection of Cheesebarger and Heritage Avenue, just to the west of the newly constructed Rio Grande Boulevard, which I have on authority might open Friday. So they'll be able to drive on our new road. The aspect of it is that the existing zoning of the property is the Texas 121 Gateway District. It is a commercial district and has its own set of rules and regulations within the UDC and its own separate permitted use table. The plan development proposes to change the area of zoning inside the city limits of Euless into 3 sub-districts that are based on the Glade Parks zoning district that is in the PD to the north. And again, the 3 tracks are the urban loft track, the wetlands area, and a commercial track which has 2 separate elements of it, a large-scale retail and then the commercial retail. And again, we wanted to know that the permitted use table that you've had in your backup has been gone through by staff and through the developer to kind of pare down this into a much more efficient use of uses that could potentially go into those zoning districts and be able to really tie it down to the uses that would be appropriate in that location. We feel that the zoning is appropriate for this location and in the amount of density that is proposed and in its location. The retail, large-scale retail is limited to a big box that it has to be greater than 25,000 square feet. The commercial development would allow for pad sites that are similar to the nature of Glade Parks along the 121 frontage. The urban loft residential would permit up to 60 units to the acre, 4-story wrapped around a internal structured parking It would have a townhome component, maybe included as part of the design, and then 95% of the units would be either 1 or 2 bedroom, and the remainder would be a 3-bedroom type. And again, the property is going to be maintained. We'll have the property developer is here and would like to present a little bit more about their company to the commission as you will. Again, the architectural elements, very briefly, is that you have a predominant entry type feature that has a strong sense of presence, that you have elements that are the masonry requirements that we have throughout the city, that we have design of windows and other articulation into the building that allows for a sense of depth to the building and a sense of permanence in place. That we have the other design elements of communal walkways are going to be able to be directly onto the street surface and sidewalk surfaces, that you don't see the internal stairwells, that you have the ability that this looks like a large building rather than a separate set of smaller buildings. We're trying to get away from the garden apartment feel in Euless that we've had for many, many years. And again, other types of design elements. One of the things also that Mr. Collins and I looked at this particular project was how they dealt with the external exuberances for a building that you always have to have. You have the meters that all have to be outside and to be accessible to be read and whatnot. What they had was they had certain types of steel screening walls that you could still see through them, but they kind of deflected and become part of the landscape and hardscape of this particular project. Those are little kind of detail type of things that if incorporated into this, we can really enhance the entirety 360 aspect of this building rather than just having a public face and then the private face that's hidden all the stuff back behind. So, you know, those kinds of things as where the location of the dumpsters are going to be located interior to the building and how those things are going to be operating, all those kinds of things that how those are parts of the elements that we work with through the site plan process in order to make sure that this is a quality development. And again, they wanted to hold up, the developer provided these images also. The Arboretum in Raleigh, North Carolina is a similar type of project that they would entail. Again, you see a 4-story development where you have a prominent architectural feature as the primary entrance to the building. You have architectural elements here, the rounded windows at the top end of the building. You have the significant headers and sills within each of the windows. You have coins on the edges of the buildings. Street lights, street trees, significant landscaping and connectivity. These images are also placed, as you see here, as within the ordinance. These are kinds of things that when coming up forward for a site plan and a building element, we're going to request them to say, hey, this is what is put into the plan development. Let's show this as part of your site plan process. Let's show this as your building permit process so that we make sure that that what you see is what you're going to get. May not be the exact same color, may not be the exact architecture, but we have the elements of what is good quality design put into here in a graphic format so that the developer and the city are well aware of how those elements work together so that we get a good product once it's finished. And then again, the final conceptual layout and the arrangement of uses is, as you see, this is not part of the plan development at this point. What you have in there is the specific sub-district areas, but the conceptual layout helps kind of visualize for you in making your decision of how this could be developed. And then once the PD, if approved, was brought forward as a site plan, each one of these elements will be brought forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission and to the City Council for your review and approval. And with that, sir, we are finished with our presentation, and at your pleasure, the developer would like to speak.
Ask the gentleman to step forward. And please give your name and address for our records.
David Sukenik, 4949 West Grove, Suite 100, Dallas, Texas, 75248.
Yeah.
Michael Tani, 10310 Woodford Drive, Dallas, Texas, 752.
Thank you, Stephen. First of all, I want to thank Stephen, Mike, Gary, and Chris. This has been a pretty complicated deal to put together, and over the last several months, you guys really helped and supported us through that. So I just wanted to thank you and say we look forward to working with you over the next few months to get this thing going. Stephen had asked that we give a little bit of information about our company, our background, our track record. So we're a company that's founded in 1955, we're family owned, headquartered here in Dallas. One of the things that we really wanted to convey was we're really excited to be a part of Euless, become a member of the community. The Glade Parks area is you guys have built something really nice there, and we're excited about the opportunity to be a part of that. We're also excited to be a long-term partner. Everything we do, from the design of properties to the construction to the management, we do with the intention that we're going to hold it long-term. In designing properties, we're always looking for ways to make the resident experience more convenient, more livable, more walkable. So it helps in the design. Our construction specifications are, I think, second to none. We've got, because we own all the properties long-term, we put a lot of time into making sure that we build it right the first time. And finally, we manage all of our own properties, so we don't have to hire a third-party management company. We're responsible for the management, long-term maintenance. That allows us to put in people that we trust, that can do a good job to run. Here are a couple communities in our portfolio. I'd like to focus on the bottom one. It's a rendering of a property that we're building. It's under construction right now in Frisco. It's similar to this. It is, we're partnering with a hotel developer there, where it's a mixed-use component. It's got a 4-story product with a structured parking garage. So we're certainly comfortable with this type of development.
Nancy, Mike, you're going to just stand by for questions?
Yeah, what I want to do is give David a chance to present one of my strengths and weaknesses, the curse of knowledge. As you get older, you kind of presume people know stuff because you've done it so many times. And I want to give David a chance to present. The personal side is my grandfather retired from the post office, and his 3 sons started building single-family homes in South Louisiana. And eventually got into the apartment business. And we're what they call a vertically integrated builder. This is where you own all your own equipment. Everyone's an employee, the carpenter, the plumber, everything. So this is back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It wasn't until the 80s when that model no longer worked. And you see this transition to kind of merchant builder or owner-developer. And so we became an owner-developer using the same skill set, saying, look, if we're going to build it, we're going to own it. We don't have anything that we've ever built for others or built to sell, right? So when we design it, we're designing it based on what we learned in the last iteration of what we built, what we learned from the customer. And so you find internally, most people have been with us for 20 or 25 or 30 years. And because you're going to see that person next year, the following year, the manager's been there for 20 years, you just have a different relationship because it matters. And she's going to tell us it's got to be this. We're going to present and sell a product. We're going to present and sell a product. Glade Park is a really unique development. I kind of appreciate the amount of time it took and patience to put this together because it's really a beautiful development. It's a testament to the work you guys have done. The guy who called us is John Zikos. Some of you may know or not know him. He's representing a large grocer, and he had a particular problem with these landowners and consolidating these sites and trying to make it work for all the parties that came to us and said, it's a little bit of time and effort, but I really think there's something here. And we said, okay, John, let's work on this. Without Mike and Stephen and working through with all the parties, we have a really good relationship with this major anchor. They're as committed as I've ever seen we'll talk again tomorrow, they're engaged. There's a lot of issues here, you know, from floodplain to traffic to the normal development issues. That's what we do well. We're gonna work through it. We're gonna take the time, get it right. Look forward to getting to know you. And the relationship will be an important relationship because we'll be. So, you know, we're gonna do that patiently and show you one step at a time because these are words, you know, actions are kind of what people rely on. So, you know, we appreciate the opportunity to work with you and we'll show you what we've learned about four-story product, mixed use, and how to integrate. And we think we do a good job because we take our time and do it one project at a time. We're not in a hurry. We're here to get it done.
Well, your approach is what we're looking for. You sound sincere. I like the fact that it's a family-owned business and you build to own long-term. And I don't think you would be there telling me that it wasn't true, so I believe it. And I just have the pictures and images and representation of what you've done, but that looks like a quality product to me. So we appreciate you being here, and I'll ask the questions from the other commissioners. Does that conclude your comments?
It does.
For now?
Any proponents, opponents in the audience?
Seeing none, I close the public hearing. George, questions for these gentlemen?
No, just I appreciate your input and your presentation was very well. We look forward to this. It's you know, that is a nice development up there. We're looking forward to bringing people to it and hope it works out well.
I appreciate it.
Commissioner Armstead? Commissioner Portugal?
I appreciate you standing here and committing, you know, a long-term commitment in your involvement and investment into this property. And if it doesn't work, is everything planned? We know where to find you right now. I think you've had a, you know, you've got a good staff here to work with you for what we're looking for. And I think they'll hold you to it. I have to trust our staff to hold you to what we know is best for our city. And if you're willing to work with them, they'll make something good happen. I mean, obviously, the other departments that have gone in over there have done very well. They look pretty highly occupied. I don't know what their rate is now, but they seem pretty full. So that's a good measurement, I think. You know, build it and they will come. Thank you.
Commissioner Doppel?
A couple questions. How many properties are you involved with at this point?
We have one under construction. Is that what you're asking, or that we own?
That you own?
We own 22 properties.
Okay. What would be just an average of your occupancy percentage?
Probably in the high 90s, 98, 99.
Wow. Very
I
good.
mean, one of the things we focus on is reducing the turnover through that relationship building, right?
Yeah.
So the goal in any living customer experience is to have a good experience, and so in a place you like, you're not going anywhere.
Well, that's above the national average.
It is. It is, but that's a big part of what we're trying to do.
And you will maintain the management of these properties. You aren't going to
We do.
contract out that?
We don't contract it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Ellis?
Yeah, one question, just to follow up. Again, those 22 properties, can you give us an example of one that's been around for a long time?
For example, this is La Valencia, that's been around for a long, I'd say it's been around for 8, 9 years now.
Yeah.
This is Visconti on the left, that was 2008. And so, you know, we've been through the downturns, right? So this is one that when we finished it, actually wasn't so great, the economy wasn't so great. But today, it's a wonderful performing asset. So again, our approach is not necessarily to try and chase these peaks and sell those gains. It's to the quality and commitment. And I'll tell you that when you're in this long term, you're less focused on the market than you are on the quality and execution. So really, the newest one in this group is to the right, and that's Tribeca. And again, that's a wonderful product. Let's say, am I right, 9, 10?
Yeah, 9.
9. So some of the properties we own currently we bought in So that was kind of the last, what I call the kind of garden heyday. And we went to this tuck under garage product, the three-story product, the 90s. And we saw the turn, the 2000, tuck under retail that kind of had a mixed reception. It was okay in some areas. And we found now that this integrated horizontal mixed use has been really successful. I think the tuck under wasn't as successful as people hoped. It was successful in limited locations. And that's where you saw a lot of the retail space was always vacant. And then go back and turn it back into apartments or other things. And so what we've learned through these cycles is this is the horizontal integrated is really the right thing to do. And what we like about this site, frankly, is like you saw Stephen's presentation, the park to the northeast gives you a lot of space and people have pets and kids and things that want to play. But as you come south, they go right into the retail and then into the anchor and they're associated with Lake Park South. To me, it's just kind of an ideal live, work, play environment. And that's what you're looking for. Nobody really wants to be above a restaurant. It kind of doesn't work. Noise and that kind of, but this really does. So we're excited about it.
Mr. Brown?
I don't have any questions. I would just echo, things we've heard from the other commissioners. And, I too like the fact that you're local. And that you're here tonight, taking the time to come down here, we appreciate that. It looks like a very nice product.
What's the location of your closest property to us now? Did I miss that?
So I'd say the closest one is actually, it's going to be in Bedford. It's going to be concrete. We bought that from a developer and we out of a bankruptcy. We broke down, so we went back to London. The bank, SNL took it back. And we fixed it up and you go up to the tour anytime. It's a nice property, but it's vintage property of its age, right?
Right.
86, 87. But we worked with the city of Bedford now for almost 25, 30 years. And I can promise you they don't have problems. We've never had any problem.
What's the one we saw pictures of? It was a cop out.
You can go back.
Was it
The Las Colinas property?
Yeah, so
when was that built?
that was probably in the last year.
That
So,
was 2010, I think. That was a different, that was
yeah, but it's okay. So, this is Lincoln Las Colinas. Our architect is Michael Hampton, Charles Womack, and we worked together for the last 25 years. And he designed this product for Lincoln in Las Colinas. And basically, if you look at the exterior was unique, and some of the floor plans are theirs, but the rest of the structure is something actually took from another design that we've done together. And so this is, in architecture, it kind of moves over time, but you start somewhere, right? Then start in space. And so after we did something, they did this, and then we're kind of moving from this to the next iteration. And so we're taking this, and if you go back to the Raleigh design, which is the Arboretum, another award-winning design, that we just, as we toured this, we thought it had a really nice elevation, and so we're blending those two elevations to come up with a unique articulation.
I like that. Can you go back to one more? So the trees and things that we see there, you must have planted some fairly mature.
Yeah, this is the Lincoln project. It looks a little bit like the Tribeca one you probably saw on the other slide. These, I would guess, what do you think, Alan? They're probably 8 gallons, 6?
Sixes probably.
Sixes.
Because that's still the Las Colinas property, right?
It is.
It's only a year or so old.
Yeah, you said, but I think I got that wrong. You said it was 2010, so 4 years old. So there were probably 6 or 8s.
That would, I assume, would be what you have planned for Lake Park South, something very
Yeah.
similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, the key with, again, when you get into oak trees, the real question is this fallen burlap versus container grown. And you get this decision, so a lot of people are fallen burlap people, and the risk there is as you dig that tree out, you cut away a lot of the feeder roots. So you get a bigger base, but slower growth. It's kind of 3 to 5 years of slowness. The container ground, you can get 4 to 6 caliber, let's say 6, but because those roots have always been in that container, if you dig a bigger hole and put the right ingredients of fertilizer around it, it actually takes off faster. And so everyone argues that year 7 is kind of the same place. I'm a container guy personally, but I don't know if Adam would agree, but he's a problem for that. So within our organization, we would disagree. I think the Bolingbrook looks better day one. I think in year 7, it would be equal, but I'm not an arborist, so I'm just saying that's what I've learned over the years. You guys have to ask one.
But I like it looks flat.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it does have a bigger impact, like the first day, and that's what Adam knows. And he does run the project, so he'll probably fall for a lot. It'll be the budget, not the same thing. I'll just say, well, things change.
Mr. Chairman, one question.
Yes, sir.
What percentage of your properties are retail and what percentage are residential? And those properties that are mixed use, they're predominantly retail or residential?
Predominantly residential, so that's our focus.
Percentage-wise?
I'll give you an example, but then it will.
No, I mean, of the properties that you currently have, I think you said you had 22 properties.
I think it's 96%.
Well, you got Tribeca, you got Block, you got Raleigh, so, yeah.
That's
10%.
It's a tough question. Let's say 5 to 10%.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't have exact numbers, so let's say 5%.
5% are retail or 5% are residential?
95% residential. So,
And the others, are they mixed use or they?
well,
Retail
residential is,
property.
so and the retail is part of the mixed use, but it gets, here's why it's confusing, like La Frontera in Austin, Brown Rock, which is North Austin, had 47,000 feet of retail when we built it. With the final permit this next month, it will have no retail. So it's sat vacant for 4 years, Adam?
Yes,
5 years?
4 years.
And we had to go back and redesign it all. So it's a fair question, but sometimes even when we had retail, it ended up being converted to multifamily. That was that, we call it tuck under retail, where it's part of the first floor. And it didn't always work.
Are any of the properties have a big box retail?
So in the big box grocery world, the space we're working in, 90+%, you can talk to the grocery community, they want to own their land. So it's hard to land lease anymore in that space. That's kind of gone away. We have one in the Raleigh market, my wife's from Raleigh, Durham, that they're going to do a lease.
And how many square feet is that?
The grocer,
Approximately.
the grocer 64,000 feet, the shop space is another 20, and then there's 3 out parcels of 8 acres.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments before I ask for a motion? I would entertain a motion. It's Chair, I recommend approval. I have a motion for approval. I have a second.
I'll second.
You okay with that? Motion and a second. Please raise your right hand if you're in favor. Motion carries. Mike, when does this go to City Council?
27th of this month, 7 p.m.
And it will probably be in the other chambers, I would imagine. Mike, anything else for staff? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of things. I don't remember if we provided an explanation of actually why we're in here or not. And if we did, if we're repeating ourselves, please tell us to hush. There's a new video screen that's being installed that will be located towards y'all's back on the dais. The screen that you may have been accustomed to looking at the back of the chamber will be deactivated. You will have new monitors that will be installed at the dais that you will be looking at. We're real excited about what that video technology is going to be able to do. It's a split screen video technology that would enable multiple images to be projected at the same time. And with Stephen's assistance, we're actually going to learn how to use it. And what we would envision as a practical matter is we think that individual slides during the course of the presentation are beneficial in conveying what it looks like through the aerial or what the zoning is, and then we get the site plan. But what we're excited about is the potential to simultaneously enable you to look at the aerial photo at the same time that you're looking at the site plan. And if there are ingress-egress issues, if there's topographical issues, if there are adjacent land use issues, or whatever the circumstance might be, we will have the ability with that aerial and site plan side by side to
Both with our right hands.
We're going to hear you, whatever.
When should that roll out?
Old-fashioned multi-screen.
Like, when should that be ready to roll out? Next couple
We are
of years.
hopeful that we will be in there for the next council meeting, is what we're being told, and certainly by the next P&Z meeting, we should be in there.
I've spoken with Mr. Barker today, and we will be included in the company that's installing, we will be included in training for that, so we hopefully have everything seamlessly.
These and staff or these and?
We and the staff.
It's your responsibility.
Absolutely.
Y'all considered at the first meeting in December SUPs for the 10-minute loop at Signet at 157, and then the West Park between Pipeline and Highway 10 on the west side. The TLS Auto Specialist, those two SUPs were considered by the council on the 9th. We tell you that, and they were approved. They were approved. We will continue the level of activity through June associated with commercial residential activity. We had a very, very productive meeting with individuals that have the property in the vicinity of the Home Depot under contract. You will see activity associated with that from y'all's consideration this spring on a rezoning of that. We had made mention during a previous meeting with you that individuals have property under contract on the south side of Highway 10 between Cullen and Digby Drive for senior housing. The city council will have posted an agenda item that you might notice will be on their agenda next Tuesday. It's going to do a couple things. One is it's going to adopt a revitalization plan associated with the geographic area that at our next meeting we'll give you a detailed preview or a detailed explanation rather of that. And long story short is you have to demonstrate as a community within this defined geographic area that there's been a combination of public and private investment in an area that would contribute to the revitalization of that area. And as part of the senior housing that we have made mention is going to be submitting application for federal tax credits associated with that development. That would be a continuation of those revitalization efforts in this geographic area. So the council is going to be asked to consider the adoption of that revitalization plan that has to accompany the application made by the developer who is making application for the federal tax credits. And then the second action that they will do deals primarily with the method of financing that is going to be associated with development of that senior housing, that the layman's terminology for the method of financing is the city is kind of going to be used as a conduit financing. It's kind of a middle person for the funding that is secured will be passed through from the city to the developer. And what is very, very, very significant about the resolution that will be considered about the method of financing is that the taxpayers of the city of Euless are not in that project for one nickel. There's absolutely no liability, no financial exposure at all for the city. It's just a mechanics that deals with the type of scoring that's awarded to these types of projects. So those two items would be considered. So when those items are considered and we believe it will be adopted by the council, that will then begin the process of developing the entitlement process where y'all will be asked to consider a plan development. That I think the way the process will work is the plan development will be accompanied by a site plan for your consideration as opposed to it being two individual actions. So between the development there in the vicinity of the Home Depot
and that senior housing that should be accompanied with a single-family detached component as well as a commercial component. Y'all will remain busy for the next several months. Yes, sir.
Stephen, anything else?
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
Paul?
No, sir.
Hal?
No, sir.
Stand adjourned.
Thank y'all for your service.
Thank you.